The film introduces Katie, the guarded and structured best friend, and Sloane, her uninhibited and adventurous counterpart. They're heading out of town for a month-long work stint at Ecofield Organic Farms, aiming to save money for a celebratory trip to New York City. The night before, they stay with Katie's uncle Jason, a highly protective police officer. Sloane, anticipating mischief, convinces Katie to adopt fake names. Sloane becomes Heather, and Katie becomes Ripley. The next day, at the bus station, Jason enforces a security protocol. A different safe word, progressing alphabetically, must be appended to every daily text. The first word is apple. While waiting, they meet two friendly local brothers, Jed and Lucas, at a cafe. Copyright. Using their aliases, the women accept the brothers' offer of a ride. Despite Katie's reservations, she yields to Sloane's enthusiasm, and they get into the blue truck. The ride quickly turns sinister. Jed ignores the farm, driving past their destination. They arrive instead at the brothers' remote home, where their creepy mother invites them inside for tea. Katie texts Jason the safe word apple, confirming she's fine. The women unwisely eat pie and drink tea, which is laced with drugs. Realizing the trap, they bolt, but are quickly overpowered, knocked unconscious, and taken inside. The next morning, Katie and Sloane wake up chained in a crude outdoor compound in the woods. Jed informs them this is their new confinement, providing only minimal survival amenities. Soon, Boris, Jed's menacing boss, arrives. He confiscates Katie's phone and exposes their deception, the false names and the repeated safe word. Under duress, the women explain the alphabetical code to him. As they prepare to wash, the town's sheriff appears, gun drawn. He is revealed to be a key figure in the operation, a corrupt official facilitating human trafficking, and proceeds to assault one of the captives. Afterwards, Sloane comforts a deeply traumatized Katie. The red flag miles away, Uncle Jason grows alarmed. Katie's latest text repeats yesterday's code word, violating their protocol. His concern intensifies when he calls the farm and confirms the women never arrived. Convinced they're in danger, Jason rushes to the town. Back in the woods, the next client arrives. A disturbing scruffy guy selects Sloane and takes her to the trailer. Later, a customer even more unsettling appears, the pig mask dude. Jed and Lucas frantically cover their heads in deference. The masked figure also selects Sloane, leaving her even more profoundly traumatized than before. Jason tracks his investigation to the sheriff's office, where he confronts the corrupt lawman. Jason reveals he is an FBI agent and unwisely confides the details of the broken safe word code, confirming his niece is kidnapped. The sheriff immediately tips off the kidnappers about the FBI agent and the safety word. Fearing federal interference in their trafficking business, Boris orders Jed to kill both women and dispose of their bodies. Unbeknownst to them, Katie overhears the entire plan. Meanwhile, Jason continues his search, visiting the cafe. Copyright and using a fabricated insurance claim at the car insurance office to successfully trace the owner of the blue truck. The reckoning the next day. Katie tells Sloane the hit is coming. When the captors arrive with the scruffy guy, they leave him to guard the women. Katie, seeing her chance, exploits the guard's interest, seducing him until she is close enough to violently rip out his throat with her bare teeth. The friends free themselves. The sheriff arrives moments later, presumably to commit the murders himself, but as he steps out of his vehicle, the women steal his car. Driving into town, they stop at a hardware store to arm themselves. They find Boris's address by questioning the cashier about the owner of the blue truck. At Boris's house, the tables violently turn. Katie and Sloane ambush the boss, pelting him with nail-spiked tennis balls, causing severe injury. Boris is reduced to pleading for his life, offering money. As Jason pulls up outside, the women interrogate a bleeding Boris for the identity of the pig mask dude. When he refuses, they impale him with a makeshift spear, shoving it up his rectum, killing him. Jason enters to find Boris dying and the women gone. The sheriff informs a worried Jason that Boris did not survive. When Jason attempts to call Katie's phone, the sheriff pulls his gun, revealing his complicity, and takes Jason captive. The sheriff has also taken two new young women. The two still have to wait for the bus which is scheduled to arrive in approximately an hour, and they decide to wait at the cafe. Copyright. They immediately catch the interest of two townsmen, and end up sharing a table with them. The two women then introduce themselves with the fake names they made up the other night, while the two men introduce themselves as brothers whose names are Jed and Lucas. The brothers offer to give them a ride to their workplace, and although Katie is initially reluctant, she gives in to Sloane's silent plea. The two end up climbing into the young men's blue truck. However, things don't go as planned. Jada deliberately passes by the farm where Katie and Sloane work, which confuse the two women. And at last, they arrive. The two women are welcomed in by Jed and Lucas's sketchy mother, who invites them to have some tea before heading to the farm. Once they get inside, Katie receives a text from her cop uncle, and with their agreed safe words, she let him know that she's fine. Meanwhile, the two eat some pie, and drink some tea, of which they probably shouldn't do, but they do it anyway. Their sight becomes blurred as it turns out there's drugs in their drinks. The two immediately run for their lives. After Rick's scene, Uncle Jason reaches their sheriff's office and comes face to face with the town's perverted sheriff who we saw earlier. Here we learn that the uncle is actually not just a cop, he is actually an FBI agent. He voices his concerns and is convinced that his niece is kidnapped. To make the plot even more interesting, for some reason the FBI uncle decides to tell the sheriff about how he knows they're in trouble because Katie did not use a new code word in the latest text message she sent. Back in the woods, obviously the sheriff has informed the kidnappers about the fact that Katie's uncle is an FBI agent and that Katie lied to them about the safe word. Not wanting the FBI to poke around their human trafficking business, the boss Boris tells Jeff to kill them both and dump their bodies. Unbeknownst to them, Katie is eavesdropping the conversation. While this is happening, the FBI uncle decides to visit the cafe copyright where he last dropped off Katie and Sloane. He then asks the barrister what he knows. The barrister remembers in clear detail what a sort of truck Katie and Sloane left with. On the next day, Katie tells Sloane that the kidnappers are planning to kill them shortly before the kidnappers arrive along with Scruffy Guy. They then leave Scruffy Guy behind to watch them. Katie takes this opportunity to seduce him, and once she gets close enough, she rips his throat with her bare teeth. The two women then proceed to free themselves off their chains. Not long after, the sheriff arrives at the scene, presumably to kill them. But just as he steps out of his car, Katie and Sloane have stolen his car. The two women drive back into town and proceed to visit the hardware store to gear up. Some real shit is about to go down now. They then ask the cashier if he knows Boris, the man with the blue truck, and the cashier knows where he lives. On the other side of town, Uncle Jason continues his investigation by visiting the town's car insurance building today. He makes up a story about accidentally colliding with a blue truck and asks who owns it. The boss Boris just makes it back home. It turns out that Katie and Sloane have sneaked up on him, and throw a bunch of nail-spiked tennis balls at him, injuring him badly. Now that the tables have turned, Boris pleads for his life, and even goes as far as offering his money in exchange for sparing his life. Katie and Sloane track their next target to a church, revealing the pig mask dude is the town's priest. Sloane enters and confronts her assailant, and with Katie's aid, the two take down the bastard. They drive away, appearing carefree, but then stop. They step out to reveal the priest is chained behind the truck. In their final act of cold fury, they douse him in gasoline and set him on fire. Final acts of destruction. The women arrive at the sheriff's location to free Jason and the two new captives. They tie up the sheriff and sadistically torture him with a game of Russian roulette. The friends are now utterly unhinged. After the sheriff begs for his life, Katie ends the terror with a fatal blow to the head. They free the captives and tell them to release Jason. The rescued women, grateful to their saviors, refuse to identify the killers to Jason. In their climactic purge, Katie and Sloane visit Jed and Lucas's mother. They drug her, tie her up, and force her to watch as they brutally beat Jed to death with baseball bats in the basement. Next, they take her to Lucas. They untie him, hand him a bat, and demand he kill his own mother. When Lucas refuses, they shoot him dead. staging the scene to suggest he committed suicide and could be blamed for all the murders. The mother frantically offers money, but Katie dispatches her with savage cruelty using a lawnmower. Sometime later, Uncle Jason picks up Katie and Sloane at home. They are dropped off at the airport, where they excitedly head toward their original goal, New York City.